Hi, it's Nero here from Investment Rise, and as someone who's now been helping people invest in property for over 12 years, people often ask me, Nero, how's the property market right now? And when they do, my question back to them is, well, which property market do you mean? And that's generally when they kind of look up at the ceiling and they often don't even know how to respond to that question. You see, because most people seem to have very short-term memories. So most people only seem to remember the property market as one market and how it's performed since essentially October of 2020. And you probably know that almost anywhere, house prices have risen quite significantly since October of 2020. But we're now starting to see a more normal market. Now, what does that mean? Well, a normal market, a normal national market that is a market where some areas rise in value, some are flat, and some go backwards, right? And so we're definitely seeing that right now. I mean, we've got CoreLogic's data for the March quarter, and there's definitely been some changes in the market, right? At the moment, about 40% of suburbs in Sydney, and I'm talking suburbs here because, as I've said this time and time again in past episodes, when you invest, you don't just invest in a city necessarily, you invest in a particular suburb, okay? And in Sydney, 40% of suburbs are showing price falls, and in Melbourne it's nearly 50%. Okay, and I expect that in both those two cities, the percentage of suburbs that are going to fall in value is going to increase in the coming few months. Okay, however, that isn't the case nationwide. All right, and so you need to be, as an investor, be making decisions based on data and not just your perception of what's happening in the market, say around where you live, okay? In fact, let's have a look at a recent article from the Australian Financial Review that really highlights this. House prices fall in 40% of Sydney suburbs. And this is from April of 2022. Dwelling values have dropped in nearly 2 in 5 Sydney suburbs during the first 3 months of the year, while almost half of all Melbourne suburbs analysed posted price declines as the market downturn gathers pace, data from CoreLogic shows. Of the 917 suburbs analysed, 354 logged a fall in median dwelling values. House prices in 189 Sydney suburbs have slumped, while 165 unit markets weakened during the same period. So it's not just houses that are falling in value, it's also unit prices that are falling. And remember, in most markets around Sydney, unit prices didn't rise very much, not just in the last 12 months, but they haven't risen much in the last 5 years. Okay, so definitely the Sydney market as a whole is showing signs of a flatlining market, with some suburbs certainly going into downturn. Melbourne is following suit as well. And again, Melbourne had nowhere near the level of capital growth that Sydney did, so many Melbourne investors are going to start feeling the pinch more than I think people in Sydney will. In Melbourne, dwelling values across 303 suburbs have dropped during the same period, with 154 house markets and 149 unit markets recording price falls. Eliza Owen, CoreLogic's head of research, said the largest price decreases were recorded across some of the more expensive suburbs in Sydney and Melbourne. Inner Sydney suburbs Beaconsfield, Newtown and Camperdown notched up some of the sharpest house price falls of 7.2%, 5.8% and 5.7% respectively. In Melbourne, Cremorne posted the largest house price decline of 6.4%, followed by South Yarra with a 4.8% fall and Toorak with a 4.4% drop. Now, mind you, these are quarterly price drops, okay? They're not annualized, but still you can see that, just in the last quarter, some of these suburbs have recorded, 4, 5, 6% price falls. But at the very same time, there are other markets around the country recording literally record price growth, okay? Check this out. Here's a table from the very same article which goes through the suburbs with the highest and lowest growth in median house value in the first quarter of 2022. Okay, now look at the suburbs that have been performing the best. Logan Central in Queensland. quarterly change was 13.5%. That's 13.5% capital growth in 3 months. Now, if you were to annualize that, which means that if it was to stay the same, that would mean 13.5, 27, 54% capital growth in 12 months. Okay? Now, we don't know if that level of capital growth is going to continue. Could it increase? Could it decrease? But 13.5% in just 3 months, okay? That's more than many areas in Melbourne got in the last 12 months in 2021. It's more than what most areas in Perth have got in 12 months, more than what most areas in Darwin have got in 12 months, and this is just 3 months growth, okay? Wood Hill in Queensland, 12.9% growth in the last quarter. Largs North in South Australia, 12.7% in just the last 3 months. Willawong, Queensland, 12.1%. Semaphore, South Australia, 11.3%. Henley Beach, South Australia, 11.0%. Okay, so what does this show you? It shows you that we are now in a more of a normal market, which, as I said earlier, is where some areas are going to rise significantly in value, as you can see. Some will just go flat, and some areas are going to decline to differing extents depending on the fundamentals in those areas. So as an investor, what does that mean? It means that you need to start doing your research more judiciously. You cannot say there is just one Australian market and judge the entire Australian market based on what's happening in your local area, okay? Because if your local area is one of those areas that is in maybe in a slight decline or going flat, you could easily then make the wrong decisions and miss out on investing in areas that could be very affordable for you, where you could get some significant capital growth, okay? There is no point, then sitting back going, oh, look, the entire Australian market is going to be like my local suburb, and then looking back in 2 years' time, 3 years' time and going, oh, I wish I'd invested in XYZ suburb in another state. Okay, it has never been easier to find opportunities with great capital growth outside of your local area, where the property will get rented very, very quickly. And in many of these areas which are recording some really strong capital growth, the rents are virtually covering the mortgage. In some cases, the rents are even higher than what your mortgages are, which means you're actually getting a positive income coming through. Okay, so the key thing is, don't think that there's just one Australian market. We are now in a very normal Australian market where, as I said, some areas are rising, some are not, okay? And so you're going to have to do your research. The other big difference is that, unlike essentially the last 10 years where Sydney and Melbourne have led capital growth for the country, I don't see that happening going forward, and the data is showing that as well. I think Sydney and Melbourne are going to be one of the poorer performers from a capital growth perspective. I think many areas in those two cities, our biggest markets, will be capital growth basket cases. Okay, so the prices are either going to be the same right now and will stay the same for a little while, or they may even fall slightly, okay, while other areas show sharp growth. So do your research, get some professional help. I know that we're finding areas for our clients where prices are rising significantly month on month at the moment, okay? But otherwise, do your research, but certainly don't think you've missed out. There are still some amazing opportunities for capital growth and strong rental returns. You're just going to have to do your research and apply a bit more science to how you find those opportunities. Hi, it's Nero here again, and thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw and you're looking for a proven recipe, a blueprint on how to build a property portfolio that gives you passive income, then click the link below this video and get a copy of my book, Wake Up Wealthier, How to Build a Property Portfolio that pays you an income each and every month. Okay, when you click the link and you download your book, you can get both the digital version and the audio version in case you don't like reading. All right, so I used to sell this book for $49, but right now I'm making it totally free. Why? Because I want more people to get this information, and I know that a segment of you will then like what you see in the book and choose to reach out to find out more about our services. But even if you don't, if you're serious about building a property portfolio that pays your passive income, then you really want to get my book, Wake Up Wealthier. It contains the secrets that I have fine-tuned over the last 19 years. It's totally free for a limited time. Click the link below.